Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the current buying conditions in the car market, because right now is a really unique situation that I just don't see happen all that often, and so I want to talk about it in today's video. Before we get into this video, as always, if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. In last week's video, I talked about how the car market is currently seeing some really strange things, where in the used car market, we see demand basically flatlined at the same time that inventory levels have been slowly increasing, and so prices have actually been falling. Whereas in the new car market, we've seen pretty much a similar effect where inventory has been increasing at the same time that demand is pretty much flatlined, but prices have actually been slightly increasing within the new car market. So that's this weird dynamic that is currently happening that makes buying really confusing, because part of the car market makes sense, right? The used car market, but then the new car market doesn't make so much sense. So let's quickly talk about why this is happening within both of these markets, and then talk about whether or not right now is a good time to buy. So within the used car market, things are doing what they should do based on supply and demand. And that's because the used car market, I would say, is as organic as you can get within the car market to an extent. There are certain, micro markets within the used car market that can have quite a bit of outside meddling, where prices can be artificially inflated or deflated. But for the most part, the used car market just functions off of basic supply and demand. There is a finite amount of used cars, and there's a finite amount of people that want to buy those used cars. And so prices will go up or down based on what people are buying and what people are not buying. And so if there are market, upturns or downturns, then the used car market's not going to react instantaneously. It takes a second for things to go through auction, dealerships, all of that kind of stuff. But it is going to react, and it's going to react a heck of a lot quicker than the new car market that's doing some really weird stuff. So again, within the new car market, inventory is up at the same time that demand hasn't increased, and prices are increasing. And this is because there's a lot of meddling, is what I will call it, within the new car market. You've got automakers and you've got car dealers that both have their hands in the metaphorical cookie jar within the new car market, and they really do shake and shift market dynamics within the new car market. And here's how it works. The automakers, right, they build a car and it costs a certain amount of money to build the car. They take that into account before they engineer a car and all that kind of stuff. Can they even build it for an amount of money that makes sense to sell it to the market? And then they price it based on what like cars are selling for in the new car market. Now, they are not going to be selling that car for that amount of money because they're going to sell it to dealerships. And so you have a bunch of different costs associated with a new car. You've got the manufacturing cost of that car, and then you've got the dealership cost of that car, and then you have the retail cost of that car. Whereas in the used car market that we just talked about, you have wholesale, retail, right? You don't have two layers of wholesale value with used cars like what you have with these new cars. And so that means that there is more room to kind of manipulate things within the new car market. And we see this all the time, right? This is something that people complain about with car dealerships, where a manufacturer will state that a car is worth a certain amount of money and a dealership will sell it for more than that. Or, people don't complain about this ever, but sometimes same situation, but then the car sells for under what the manufacturer says it should sell for. And so that also, again, creates some confusion, because it's like, well, why did the manufacturer even set the price if ultimately the price is going to go up or down depending on, what the dealer is thinking on that particular car? Discussion for another video, but this complexity leads us into why the new car market is doing what it's doing right now. And that's because the new car market, in my opinion, is just lagging. And here's how it's lagging. Car dealerships are going to be conservative with price changes, especially if those price changes are in the downward direction, because car dealerships are businesses that, are in business to make money. And so before they slash the prices on their cars, they're going to make sure that that's the thing that makes the most sense for the market. And so usually, when the market shifts, you'll see a little bit of a lag before dealers actually lower their prices. And what this lag typically looks like in the real world is their prices online won't change, But then as customers are coming in, right, the dealerships are interacting with these customers, they might see that, oh, if I want to put this car deal together, I've got to discount this car this amount. And they get enough of that happening within their transactions that they go, okay, it's probably time to discount my prices online because I might be losing customers to my online prices. I might have customers that don't even show up to my dealership to do this negotiating because my prices are just too high. So you've got a little bit of lag that happens there on the dealership side of things. But that pales in comparison to the lag that you see with automakers with these sorts of things. Because again, automakers are not selling the cars directly to the customers. They're selling them to the dealerships first, who are then selling them to the customers. So the automakers are just churning out these vehicles and selling them to dealers. And over the last few years, dealerships have been taking pretty much all of the allocation that manufacturers have been giving them. And so it's put manufacturers into, I would say, a horrible mindset when it comes to car sales, because manufacturers now have been running off this mindset that it doesn't matter what they build, as long as they build it, then someone's going to buy it. And so we have the situation where the manufacturers just keep increasing their prices and they just keep increasing production, right? They're not so worried about supply and demand dynamics because they've been used to just selling everything they build for the last few years. That doesn't exist anymore. And so you have the situation now where these automakers are building these cars, the dealerships are refusing the allocation because they already have a bunch of those cars and they're already not selling. And so, you've seen some discount programs get released, but it takes a second for that to happen, right? The manufacturers have to build the cars, sell them to the dealership, and then build another batch of those cars and then sell them and then get that batch rejected for them to realize, oh, maybe we priced this too high, or oh, maybe we built too many of this particular car. And that's what I think is happening right now, is I think that manufacturers are starting to finally hit up against that wall, and they're trying to navigate it, right? It's something they're trying to navigate where they're building more of a particular car that is in demand and then trying to pull back on production on stuff that's not in demand. And it's like they're just playing this game to try to milk the car market for as much as they can while this lower supply situation, or at least they think this lower supply situation still exists. But I would say that at this point, the game's up and the market has shifted. And I think that automakers need to go back to just focusing on doing what automakers should be doing, and that is building cars, and to just communicate with dealers and let dealers do what dealers do, which is sell the cars. Now, I understand there's a lot of people that are going to say direct-to-consumer sales, and again, video for another day. But with what we have right now in the US with most brands where it is through dealerships, I think that the thing that needs to just happen simply is that car prices need to just naturally come down and manufacturers just need to increase production. Now, are they going to do that? Time will tell. But if you are someone that is currently shopping for a car, understand that within the used car market right now, it's not necessarily the best time to buy. It's not a bad time to buy either, is what I would say, because certain used cars have flatlined. Like, they're not going to necessarily hold their value for eternity, but they're not really going down in value anymore. Other used cars are still going down in value. So depending on what you're looking at will determine whether or not right now is a good or potentially a bad time to buy. With new cars, I think if it's a late model year car, so like a 2023, for example, there's some pretty good deals to be had. Understand that depreciation is going to be higher. Anything that has a big discount is going to have higher depreciation. But then you have the flip side of, if you're going to keep the car for a long time, well, you're getting a better deal on it. With the newer stuff, the 24s and the 25s, I think it's a little bit more iffy on that side of things because, again, I think that right now the market is at a certain place, and I think that the car manufacturers are at a different place. They don't realize where the market's at. So I think that we're potentially going to see some price cuts over the course of the next few months, but then over the course of the next year, as manufacturers realize where demand actually is and where the market actually is financially. Let me know what you guys think about the situation. I'll see you.